Oh, I know.
Uh, as you did come back to the faith, you wrote a poem kind of responding to a similar cry, didn't you? A question and a response as well. Um, just I wanted, if you've got that, would you be kind to share that with us? Or
I'd love to share that poem, and then I'd love to share the story behind it
yes, of
because I did
course.
write it at a time in my life where I was really dealing with a very personal challenge. So I'd love to share the personal challenge.
Of course, please do. What had kind of led up to, to this whole experiential breakthrough that you had. So please, yep.
So I want to share this poem and then talk a little bit about the moment that inspired this poem. So this poem is called Conversations with God.
Yep,
You
let's do
ready?
this.
All right. 4 a.m. and I can't sleep. I have thoughts in my mind that I can't speak. Faith, but right now there's some truths that I can't face. How come criminals walk free, but good people die of cancer? Why do the rich get richer, the poor stay poor, and why do my questions go unanswered? How does God allow people to starve to death, but expect to be praised in every prayer and breath? How come people who pray contradict what they preach? How come tyrants and oppressors don't get impeached? Why does he bless them with status or bless them in speech, yet ask us to empathize with the hungry and weak? Am I the only one who asks? Am I the only one who's getting sick of wearing masks? And if I'm careful, what's wrong with having sex or a drink? I'm scared to ask these questions because I fear what he'll think. So before I die, I'll let my thoughts live through the ink. Without faith, am I free? Or is that when I sink? I'm not asking for a miracle or change in the weather, but I feel torn by what I see, and I can't piece it together. And I'll never believe blindly and pray for the better. So, God, if you exist, please respond to this letter.
Wow.
Dear child, I'm glad you asked me. Only I can guide you clearly, and I'll always answer you when you call on me sincerely. And I've loved you so much. Have you ever loved me dearly? I even loved you when you never wanted to be near me. I know you're angry, but I'm glad you wrote this letter. If you weren't tested, then how would you know to be better? Flowers grow with rain. Don't pray for change in the weather. Sometimes the pieces need to fall so we can solve them together. I am deeper than religion. I am a spiritual bond. Seek my friendship before you seek to belong. How would you know good if you never did wrong? A muscle needs to be broken down before it can grow strong. You asked good questions, and I placed the answers within you. If you see evil in this world, then strive so it doesn't continue. If there's tyrants who spread evil, then rise to your feet. How would you know success without knowing defeat? I see the homeless man you ignore when you walk down the street. The parents who raised you, I see you often mistreat. I am the closest to you. In fact, I'm right beside you. I know the women that you cheated on and the people that you lied to, but I never lost hope because I see the good inside you. And I know that you can change, but only you decide to.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. That was amazing, man. Seriously, that
Thanks,
was
man.
incredibly profound. Subhanallah. I mean, it's amazing how the word can rise from an individual and it can evoke an entire state of mind in the other. I feel in many ways that is a miracle in and of itself. So easily undermined, but just wow. in some ways that was reminiscent of I don't if you're familiar with Allama Iqbal.
Yes.
Yeah, where
Love him. I love
he
him.
has a shikwa, a complaint to God, and he has a jawabu shikwa,
Hmm.
or shikvas in Urdu. But and I love the way you had the kind of open letter and the response to it, the jawab. Yeah, man, that's that is amazing. Wow, subhanallah. And this you've written since you kind of came back to Islam, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Um, my mom was in the ICU and there was a tumor in her heart and she had to get open heart surgery to remove that tumor.
Okay.
And I remember sitting there in the waiting room. And you just never know what's going to happen with surgeries like this. There's no guarantee
Yeah.
that the person who's getting open heart surgery comes out alive. And again, I told you I hadn't prayed in maybe a year and a half at this time. And I just started writing. I just started writing about mom. I opened up talking about mom. 4 a.m. and I can't sleep. Mama, you told me to have faith. It was 4 a.m. in this hospital waiting room, and I'm writing this, and it's just flowing. It's just flowing. And I wrote the first half, and I was angry. I wrote the first half. I was angry, and I went to go talk to the doctor. I said, "How's my mom?" And he said, "She made it. She's okay. The rest is just her recovery. You're gonna have to be there for her." And I remember thinking, I took my mom for granted. I was an ungrateful kid. I hurt her. I put her through so much stress, getting arrested, getting into fights, getting suspended from school, the whole 9 yards. And I remember going to see my mom, and everyone else is sleeping. It's 4 a.m. In the hospital. And I walk into the room and she's on like 50,000 different machines. And I just grab her hand. I hadn't prayed in a year and a half. And I just made a dua.
Subhanallah.
I said, so I said, God, if you're out there, if you exist, just give me my mom, give her health, you know, let me be a capable son for this woman who has sacrificed everything, who gave up her luxuries in a different country to come to a new country, didn't know the language, had no money, and starved for her kids to have an opportunity. Let me pay back to this woman. And Mufti, in that moment that I prayed, by the grace of God, my mom opened her eyes
Subhanallah.
and she looked at me and she said, and she could barely speak, and she just looked at me and she said, Inshallah. And I cried. Like I just cried. And I thought about how good God is that I could speak to my mom. There's people who don't have their parents. And God gave me this moment to just see my mom open her eyes and speak to me. And she spoke the word of God to me. And I remember I sat there and I was looking at what I had written. And it was so negative that first half. I was so angry. And I started writing again. And this time when I started writing, I thought about love. I thought about the moment that I just experienced. And there was this beautiful letter from God that just came to me. And it was so powerful and it just flowed so naturally. I just didn't even feel like I was writing it. It just came.